Yep. Got to work yesterday and put that game to bed, and started on Kentucky yesterday afternoon, and have immense respect for Mark. He and I have grown to be really good friends. He's one of the best in the business. He's done a tremendous job at Kentucky over the time he's been there. His teams are always very disciplined, very physical. That's a really tough place to play when you go there, as you can see from every time we've played there. It's been really tough. So a lot of excitement playing an SEC opponent on the road. I think we know around this place how hard that can be, and you get an opportunity to play at night on the road, and you know the environment's going to be really loud, and we got to prepare for a tough, really physical game, which is just that way every time we play Kentucky.
Yeah, Coach, I'm curious, when you guys went to go to prepare for Brock, or when you're preparing for Brock, how much of that, plan to attack him or defend him will be based on what he's put on tape this year and what he did for years, behind closed doors here?
Very little. I have a lot of respect for Brock, his dad, his family. What Brock did for this university was awesome. He was a wonderful teammate and just a great kid. Always put the team first and would do anything to help the team, and really helped our culture while he was here. So I have a lot of appreciation for what he did, and in fact, he graduated from here. It's really cool when he told me he was going to do that, and then he was going to go play, and he did that.
Coach, I know obviously, it's true that any SEC road game is going to be tough, but when you play an opponent like Kentucky who's coming off a game like they did, does that make them even more dangerous than what they might ordinarily be?
I don't know. I think it's all about perception and how you perceive things. They're just as dangerous whether they won or lost that game, in my opinion. I mean, I don't get into the whole. We're going to prepare the same way regardless of what happened in that game. A lot of things went wrong quickly for them in that game, and it snowballed in some ways. And I know what they're capable of. I've seen them on tape. I know the football players they got. I know how physical they are. I know how they're coached. And we got to get ready for a really tough opponent.
Kirby, to follow up on Brock, just what are his strengths? What are the things you guys are going to see when you guys line up against him on Saturday?
I think we'll see. I think that's part of their identity is figuring out who Brock is, and as well as their other quarterbacks that's playing. So I think that's something that they got to answer, and our job is to stop whatever they do, and we got to work hard on that. We got to worry about us.
Coach, obviously the transfer portal is here to stay, I guess. Can you give us just a little bit of idea with Brock and Pop, just kind of what or not necessarily them, but what it looks like each year as you evaluate and you meet with these guys, and whether they say I'm thinking about this, coach, or you say we're thinking about this. Just what does that process look like annually?
I think it's different each kid. Every kid's different. Every kid's in a different spot. Like what age am I? How much am I playing? Will I get an opportunity somewhere else? What's going on with my family dynamic? I don't think there's a cookie-cutter answer to that question. It's, I wouldn't delve into specifically each kid that I deal with. I think that's relative to me and the kid, not for public consumption. But certainly there's conversations I had, and, the transfer portal is an option for some guys to think about going somewhere else. And, it's unfortunate because the feedback we get from the NFL is there's nowhere they'd rather have players than here developing. Countless GMs have told me the kids that come out of your program are so much better off and developed for having stayed, even over playing, because of what kind of practice they get and who they get to go against practice. They feel like their best evaluation is when they come to our practice and see guys go against each other. That's not anything directly at Brock and Pop, not at all. Both those guys were awesome young men, great young men for our program, but just as a whole, asking about transfer portal stuff.
Coach, what is it that Kentucky does so well and makes it a challenge for you guys when you go up there each time?
Physical. So you play defense, you have physical lines of scrimmage, you have huge people on the offensive and defensive line, and you're hard to move the ball on. So the environment they create is very good. They got great fans. They got a great stadium. They've reduced their stadium to have more premium seating, so they actually get less people in, but they're louder when they're there. They're passionate. They play really hard. They're well coached. That's what makes it tough.
Coach, give me your thoughts on Deone Walker for Kentucky.
Yeah, extremely physical, versatile player, can play inside out. Seems like he's been there forever. He's a kid we recruited, highly recruited kid, tremendous athlete, just like a wrecking ball. I mean, he literally can wreck a play from any position. And, I mean, they even dropped him last year. And so he's a tremendous athlete.
Kirby, I know we're a few days out, but when do you start looking at the weather in terms of affecting the game plan? Thunderstorms, 75% chance or more, and how that affects what you guys want to do and what can you do?
Yeah, we look at it last night and start tracking it each and every day. We do every 2 weeks wet ball drill and practice with wet balls, and like we're going to play in the rain. And we've been able to practice some this year, a couple times in the rain. And sometimes the weather up there, typically it's later in the year we play them, and typically it's much colder, which we've had some really tough games up there in the cold, in the wind. This year it looks like there may be some inclement weather, and we've got to prepare for it if so.
Yeah, Kirby, 2 questions. 1, do you know any more about Oscar's ankle after he got dinged up on Saturday? And 2, with Lawson, just how far has he progressed this year? He's made a big play in the passing game each of the first 2 weeks.
Oscar's good. Oscar's fine. Lawson is done really well. He would have had the same progression. He got injured last year in camp, and so he missed some time with that significant ankle injury he had. But he's been growing since the time he came back last year, and he wasn't really 100% when he came back to play, but he was able to play, and he was coming off that high ankle, and he got better and better as the year went on. Had good bowl practices, good bowl game. He had great spring practice. He's worked really hard at the things he's got to improve on during fall camp, and he continues to work to get better.
Kirby, it appears that you had 6 interior defensive linemen play between 9 and 19 snaps. Can you talk about where that position group is at and what you've seen from them?
Yeah, excited about that group. They've worked really hard. They've gotten a ton of work this fall camp in terms of the youth has. Our older players, which we've got a good group of old and a good group of young in that room, we're really pleased with where they are. The amount of work the young guys have gotten is probably more than we've ever gotten a young group. It's been great because we've been able to take care of our older guys and get them in games and get them going, but then also improve the younger guys. So we've got a lot of depth in that room.
Kirby, what have you seen from Jamon as part of this Kentucky defense?
Too early to tell. It's one of those things. I just got to look. I looked at their offense first, so I studied the offense all day yesterday. This morning I got to look at a couple games. So I don't. I think you'd be better asked to offensive coach that question.
Yeah, 2 questions. 1, what happened with Xavier Johnson? It looked like he picked up an injury late on Saturday. And then what have you seen out of C.J. Allen and Raylen Wilson so far this season and how they've progressed?
Yeah, Nazir had a little bit of a sublux he's had before. Should be fine. Raylen and C.J. Are both very intelligent, mature beyond their years. They're guys that we've talked about repeatedly. They've been thrown in the fire. They've had to get in the fire and do it at a young age, and they're both growing. I mean, most of the time you're playing your first real meaningful time at linebacker at Georgia has been in your second season. Both of them had to play in their first season due to injuries, and that seems to be happening more and more across the country. And these guys have prepared well. They're very intelligent, and they're very well coached.
Speaking of Raylen and CJ, they both talked about watching the 2022 draft, and that helped them. You've got another year where you're able to play a lot of players on defense. How much was that 22 draft like a proof of concept that you were able to use, that you don't have to come here and play every down and rack up snaps to get noticed?
Yeah, I don't know. We sell that. I mean, we sell the use of our personnel and the playing of our players. We sell it immensely. People try to sell against it. I mean, with saying you don't have, but all you got to do is talk to one NFL person, and they'll tell you that they'd much rather have quality over quantity. They'd much rather judge you on the plays you play, and they'd much rather you be training at Georgia than anywhere else. So there's not a lot to argue in regard to that. I think the 22 draft was just an exceptional group of defensive players who were all at one time here, and we use that. It's a great sell, but regardless of if 22 happened, we would still have the same defensive philosophy. You need depth. You need players. You need a lot of guys who can play winning football. And if you can prove to us you can play winning football, you'll be on the field and you'll get an opportunity to put on tape what you can do. It's not about stats. They could care less about stats.
Kirby, with an injury like Mykel's, what are the things you need to see this week to be able to say, hey, he's good to go for the game?
Well, he's got to be able to practice. He's got to be able to go out and compete and run, put pressure on it. And he's doing a great job of rehab. He did a great job this weekend of getting extra time in and see where he's at.
Kirby, I know the objective every week is to win, but when you play one of these bye games or an FCS or an opponent, are there other objectives that you look to meet? You've talked about coaching up bottom of the roster, and in that sense, was it mission accomplished against Tennessee Tech?
I don't know if mission accomplished meaning playing guys. Probably yes. Mission accomplished in terms of how we played, maybe no. We got a chance to grow kids and go out and play, and that's probably an individual basis judgment. How did this guy play? How did that guy play? How did we play as a unit? How did we play as a unit on special teams when other guys got in? And, a lot of these kids early in their careers, this is the opportunity they get to play in front of their family. This is the opportunity they get to play in front of their community or TV, and that's important to them. And they practice hard too, so I'm very thankful we got to get some guys in the game.
Kirby, can I get your thoughts through the first couple games on Xavier, Truss, and Chaz Chambliss?
Yeah, both kids extremely tough, physical. They carry our culture really well. I don't think you'll find two individuals who have had more contact at the University of Georgia than these two guys, especially Truss with the amount of time he's been here. And Chaz, he seeks contact, and they're both kind of what we want our program to represent in terms of toughness and discipline, and nowhere is that more needed than this week. And that's probably why they're in front of you guys, because they carry the water in terms of discipline and toughness.
Can you update us on Warren Brinson's injury? And as it relates to Brock and quarterbacks and the transfer portal, is that a different situation given the fact that there's only one that you guys play most of the time? Carson's kind of an outlier in that regard in terms of waiting.
I don't know how to answer that. I don't understand that. Well, first on Warren, he looks good. Hopefully be able to go today. We'll find out more. I don't honestly know until we get out there, but seems to be good, and he did some stuff yesterday in the weight room. I don't understand the question on Brock.
Carson's, not many guys are waiting 3 years these days to get a chance to start. Do you understand with a guy like Brock who's waited?
Brock waited 3 years?
Yeah, no, to move on because, there's another year behind Carson this year.
Right.
Is that a different deal than somebody that is a year or two in the system and just wants to play right now?
I think everybody wants to play right now. I mean, I haven't met a player that doesn't want to play. I don't understand what you're asking. If you're trying to say, was Brock's situation different than Carson's?
No, I mean just in general with guys looking to transfer, early and often.
Well, not everybody's looking to transfer early and often. They all want to play. They don't all want to transfer. I think that would be a generalization that's not there. You know what I mean? I say at the quarterback position, there comes a point in time when if you haven't played, you're running out of time to play. So I don't know what you want a kid to do. Wait out his whole career and not play? I mean, he did graduate. He became a better player. He certainly feels that he had a great experience at Georgia and 2 national championship rings. So I think that's a positive more than it is any kind of negative.
Coach, what's your evaluation of Anthony Evans as a punt and kick returner, and how has his progress that translated to the wide receiver position?
Well, Anthony is, number one, tough. He's aggressive. He has a lot of confidence in his return skills, and he has a lot of confidence in his receiver skills. He has worked really hard at 2 positions in our offense, both the slot and the Z. With some receiver injuries through camp and just not a lot of depth, he worked at 2 positions. First of all, to play those 2 positions in our offense, you have to be extremely smart. And he's gone out there and done a great job of repping at Z and F. I'm really proud of what he's done there. He's had a bigger impact on the games as a returner, and he works really hard at that. He takes a lot of pride. I'm hard on him as a returner because I have a high standard of what that position in decision-making should be. He's extremely aggressive, and I want him to keep being smart with the ball.
Kirby, you mentioned the NFL loves the way you develop players here, but kind of on the flip side of that, just how closely are you able to monitor, what guys are doing at the next level? Like Ladd scored a touchdown yesterday. Do you get a report? Do you pay attention? Are you so focused on this team here? Just kind of how do you monitor guys at the next level?
Yeah, I don't monitor it. I do get text messages, whether it's from my family, my son, friends. People put it out there, and I see my phone. So it's one of those things. But I don't have a report. I don't monitor it. I don't go say. I just I get a text and it's like, hey, Ladd scored a touchdown, and I see a video of it, and I think it's pretty cool. Awesome. Brock, he had a good day. There's a lot of those guys that played, and 3 defensive guys started in secondaries, I think. I mean, it's a lot of good that you get, but I ain't got time to think about it right now.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned doing the wet ball drills and things like that, preparing for rain. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the keys to being successful on offense, particularly when the rain starts, and maybe some things that immediately change with the game plan if there is some rain.
I'd rather not even get into those.
Yeah, how has Chaz Chambliss improved as a player over his time here?
He's gotten much more intelligent in terms of football knowledge. So he can do recognition. He can tell you tendencies. He knows snap count cadences. He does tackle reports on what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, what the backfield set is to run, pass. He's really tough. He's really physical. He understands our defense. We give our defensive players tools that they can use, but we can't practice them all because there are things that happen on this formation, this play with this defense. It's basically a very low probability that it happens, but if it happens, you can do this. He hits on those. He gets those. He understands it, and he puts himself in an advantageous position when that multiple hits, and makes him valuable is his toughness and the kind of the way he practices.
Coach, just want you to also want assessing players here about the job that Jared Wilson has done 2 games in with snapping in and everything.
Yeah, Jared's done a good job. He's practiced more the last 2 weeks than he did in camp, so I think he's shown rapid improvement because of the amount of work he's been able to do in practice, and we need him to continue getting better. We need Jared to be a leader, and the center has to make a lot of decisions